So normally when I plant, and especially in these conditions where a bed is already topped off with the amount of soil it can hold, and then I've got to come back with mulch, if I carelessly plant all these plants with all the dirt here and then also do the mulch, we are going to have a bunch of wash off of the mulch washing down here. And then also I'm just going to be slowly creating a bigger problem over time. So what I do is right now, before I do anything, I'm looking at that level and I'm looking at, okay, I don't have room to add any more bulk. And when you take a plant out of its container and you see 90% dirt and 10% roots, you only need 10% of that dirt. You don't need, a bunch of it. If you're worried about taking more off, then just, split it in half at least, but you're going to save yourself a lot of headache in the future. And that is free potting soil. This is a great tip for just, if you, I will bag this up. This is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start bagging this flat up just to show you how much dirt you can get from this that otherwise would have been put in this bed and created problems of overflow, but also it does stimulate new root growth quicker. And then the other benefit to this is introducing the plant to the native soil sooner. In my opinion and experience, that is always the best option. The sooner you can get the roots exposed to the native soil, the better the plant performs. So, I don't want to fake the plant out and expose it to this perfect little environment of fancy soil when the reality is this is not fancy soil. So the younger the plant is when it's introduced to that, the better it's going to overcome it. So that's the idea behind removing the excess dirt that benefits the plant. Before I put these in, I want to get these installed because I know I can't put all that in. So I'm going to anticipate removing that amount of soil. The amount of soil that I'm putting in, I'm taking out because I just can't deal with the drama of overfilling this bed. So you see there, this plant does not have very deep roots established. So this bulk right here, this is unnecessary. Now, if this bed were low, then sure, I wouldn't mind adding dirt because it needed dirt anyway. I do believe beds should be topped off. I don't think they should be mounded. I just think they should be level with whatever edge it is, or really close to being level, but they should never rise above it to the extent that any kind of mulch you put on is just going to wash off. So when you look at this closely and you look at how deep this pot is, the difference in the amount of dirt that I'm saving from putting in this bed is tremendous. I'm just going to leave these together. I don't want to make more work for myself. I'm just tucking them in there, and I'm not even going to count that dirt whenever I show the soil that's left over from putting these kale in. And I am using the triangle pattern. I'm going to have one here and one here, and it's like this. All the plants connect in the triangle shape. Okay, so there's 3 there. That was 4. There was 4 there. I can't even count. That's pathetic. Just let me get these out of the way to put this in. Now this bed is the same. I mean, there's a little bit of leeway here, but I'm still not going to take the chance because I have to put mulch in. So I'm going to remove a chunk here. Just a scoop of this size shovel is plenty. This is what I mean by the native soil. You see that clay and that combination of dirt right there? That's not the same conditions as this soil right here. So, you know, there's no reason to fool your plants into thinking that they're going to have this luxurious soil their whole life, because that's just setting them up for failure. It really is. The sooner you introduce it to native soil, the better off it is. Now, the other thing that'll happen is if you create conditions that a plant, you know, gets to a certain stage of its life, it will actually, since, you know, if it's favored a certain soil texture because you've amended the dirt around a hole, say when you plant a tree, a lot of people will recommend digging the hole wider than the pot and then backfilling with a bunch of compost and topsoil and all this other junk. And all they're doing is creating these fancy conditions for these roots to be lazy. They're creating conditions to have lazy roots. And that's the last thing you want on a tree is lazy roots, because roots that don't expand are not going to be able to support the tree's growth and the tree itself. So you don't want to create those conditions, and I don't know why. You know, people preach that if you can't grow the tree in the native soil, then just you really shouldn't grow the tree, or you need to grow it in a pot. You know, that's really just the mindset. If a tree absolutely does not want to grow in the spot that it's put in, then, you know, you've got the wrong tree, or you're just planting it the wrong way. I'm going to show another quick way you can minimize the bulk that you're going to add when planting these. So hopefully this one's in the, I'm going to show how I do these, for example, all at once. So some of these got water and some didn't. But if you just take scissors and cut, sometimes it's much easier than pulling and ripping. If you're nervous about pulling and ripping, that's a method you can use. It's just cut through. Probably better for the plant too. It's definitely less stressful for the plant to just go ahead and cut through. You can use a shovel to cut through. You can use scissors. You can use whatever you need to. This is also called root pruning, or pruning roots. There's oftentimes where people will get shrubs, and you know, at nursery centers, if they've been in the pot for a year or so and they've just been there a while, the roots would be really big, and then I'll see a customer say, oh, I want to put it here, and then where they want to put it, there ends up being a pipe or just some type of obstruction, or perhaps roots from other established plants that we cannot dig the hole. There are some plants that can tolerate this more than others, but as far as annual is concerned, they can all tolerate it pretty well. But as far as shrubs are concerned, there's oftentimes where I have to go in and prune roots just to install plants in a certain area. So this is a practice that's done, you know, in gardening in general. And one of the things that I come across when I get new clients often is they have mistakenly, they didn't know about root pruning. So when they planted something in the conditions like that, the roots, they'll leave the roots above the level, above the soil level. Like they just don't bury the plant all the way. And that's not a good practice at all. But, you know, I come across it all the time. So it's just one of those things that, you know, root pruning solves those problems. So don't let, you know, that stop you from putting in a plant somewhere that you want. 90% of the time the roots can be pruned, and it just needs to be done, you know, strategically, but it can be done. Just moving these down here so I can put them all in a bag to show how much dirt is going to be left from this. But I mean, you can see just me digging here, there's you know, spillover and stuff like that. And the only way to avoid that problem from getting worse is by limiting what you put into the beds. You know, occasionally it might be like a new garden. If it's a new garden, you can definitely get away with it because we're already trying to bring soil in there, like especially a raised bed, you know, those can handle it. But when, you know, you got conditions like this and plants have been taken in and put out, mulch has been added every year without anything removed, this is when it matters most. This one really has like nothing going on in the corners. You know, really I'm taking it back all the way to this root, all the way around. These corners, they're not doing anything. When I run into a caladium bulb, I just relocate it because I definitely don't want to plant on top of any, just in case we wouldn't have a freeze and they start trying to come back. I don't want to create any competition. But what I will do is if they do try to emerge before it's their turn, I will just keep cutting them back until it's their turn to return. Okay, so let's see how much dirt we've got left. Okay, so this is just a regular size grocery bag. We're not going to count that one. We're just going to count just from the kales. This is how much dirt from just one flat of plants. Now, in no place in this bed is this much dirt needed. There's nowhere in this bed. I do see one little empty spot in that corner down there. There's one little low spot right there. I mean, I'm talking 2 inches low. I'm just gonna put mulch there. It doesn't need any more soil. So this is why it's really important to not add unnecessary bulk to your garden beds and be mindful of that, because in the long term, every time you plant, this adds up. Now, if you're not swapping out seasonal color annuals and stuff often, might not be that big of a deal. But even if you're doing it once a year, it adds up. So unless you're low on dirt, don't add unnecessary bulk. And you're not doing your plants any favors by putting this non-native soil in the ground. You're really not. So just keep that in mind when you're working in your garden. And not only that, it's a way to get free potting soil. I mean, use this in containers. This is optimized for growing plants in containers. So use it for that. That's what it's for. If you have a raised bed that you need to fill, use it for that. But it's not good to put it in your garden. Unless you're really low on soil, then there's no harm in adding it. So what I am going to do is give these plants a quick drink, and not by turning on the sprinklers. That's the last thing that I'd want to do right now, is make everything wet. So I don't even like getting the plant leaves wet right before I'm going to mulch. But since I just planted them, I need to make sure and close any air pockets, and that's much harder to do after I put the mulch down. So I'm going to do it that beforehand and after. So the air pockets that I'm closing right now are the ones from planting these in the soil. I will water again after mulching, and then I'll be closing the air pockets in the mulch. And you can see how they sink down. I mean, I try my best not to get the leaves wet. That's just not always possible, especially with a plant like this. But if you can water at the base of a plant without getting the leaves wet, you are doing your plants a huge favor. Because, you know, although people will say, but that's Mother Nature gets the leaves wet. Yes, and the time that it doesn't matter is whenever Mother Nature put that plant wherever it is, that the leaves get wet. However, when we're putting a plant somewhere, getting the leaves wet just creates an extra stress and risk for the plant. So anytime you can avoid that for your garden plants, it's always better. The other part is watering at ground level, or as close to ground level as possible, is the most preferred method for water conservation purposes and just efficiency. So, that's the purpose of drip lines, is they water at soil level or sometimes below soil level. So that's something to keep in mind. So I think I've got them watered in enough to where I can start mulching. Before I do that though, I am going to give the plants a little blow to dry off the leaves for the reasons that I just explained. In about a month's time, I think these are going to look really good. I hope the information that I provided in this video helped you. And as always, if you like this video and you want to learn more about warm climate garden beauty, be sure to subscribe.